How we doing today, guys? It's Jesse with the Common Man Corpus Christi, bringing you news and politics through a common sense lens. And if you haven't been living under a rock, you know the Biden administration, along with DHS, decided to come up with their own Ministry of Truth that they like to call the Disinformation Governance Board. Well, that has been officially suspended within the last couple of days. If you weren't aware, we're going to give you all the details on all of that, and we're also going to show you not only the details of all of this going down and the fact that they're getting rid of their Ministry of Truth, but also that the fact that the head of their Ministry of Truth has ties to Ukraine in ways that it looks like she's been working the woke agenda and the woke angle for a long time, and potentially may we even say that the woke cult has been grooming her for positions just like this for quite a while. Well, let's check out the article and see what if that ends up being the case or not. So we're going to get into this article from timcast.com. If you do enjoy my content, please hit that like button down below, share it with all your friends, and subscribe if you can, if you are not already, because it doesn't cost you a thing and it helps the channel grow. So let's get into this article from timcast.com. Biden admin suspends Disinformation Governance Board. The board's executive director, Nina Jankowicz, which we'll get to here in a minute, announced her departure from the Department of Homeland Security. So this was published yesterday. The Disinformation Governance Board has been paused by the Biden administration less than a month after being announced. The board's work has been suspended pending an advisory council review. A part of Department of Homeland Security, the entity was announced during a House Committee on Appropriations meeting by DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas last month. President Biden's administration said the board would fight the spread of misinformation in order to protect public trust in democratic institutions. It was immediately the subject of castigation and concern. Dubbed by critics as the Ministry of Truth, the board had been compared to the governmental organization depicted in George Orwell's dystopian novel 1984. DHS employees confirmed to the Washington Post that the board was officially paused on May 16th. Hey, happy birthday to me for that one. Following weeks of internal debate regarding the future of the progress. Nina Jankowicz, the disinformation researcher who had been tapped to serve as an executive director, had drafted her resignation by the following morning. Jankowicz was pulled into an urgent call with DHS officials who gave her the choice to stay on, even as the department's work was put on hold because of the backlash it faced, the outlet reported. Working groups within DHS focused on dis, and malinformation have been suspended. Thank you. Because, I mean, literally, what were they going to do? Fact check Joe Biden and have to admit to everybody that he was lying to people all the time? Come on, this was never going to work. The 33-year-old officially resigned from her position on the morning of May 18th. With the board's work paused and its future uncertain, this is her actual resignation. Okay. With the board's work paused and its future uncertain, and I have decided to leave DHS to return to my work in the public sphere, Jankowicz wrote in a statement shared by all the Wall Street Journal, a FYI, not so public sphere, and we'll talk about that in just a second. It is deeply disappointing that mischaracterizations of the board became a distraction from the department's vital work. I maintain my commitment to building awareness of disinformation threats and trust the department will do the same, Jankowicz added. Critics of the board, including prominent Republican politicians, have called for the board to be disbanded. 70 members of the House Republican Conference signed a measure that would terminate the board and prohibit the use of federal funds to establish any other similar board. Colorado Representative Lauren Boebert introduced the measure last week. I wouldn't trust Biden and his incompetent misfits to take care of one of my goats, and I certainly don't trust them to be the arbiters of truth, Boebert told Congress. I trust the American people. They are more capable of looking at claims, researching facts, and making informed decisions. Neither Nina Jankowicz nor the board have anything to do with censorship or with removing content from anywhere, White House Deputy Press Secretary Andrew Bates told the Washington Examiner on May 18th. Of course they don't. Of course you wouldn't be, working with social media to combat misinformation so they could pull things down you didn't like. Come on, Psaki admitted that herself. Their role was to ensure that national security officials are updated on how misinformation is affecting the threat environment. She has strong credentials and a history of calling out misinformation from both the left and the right. Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, worthless piece of shit, and Minority Whip Stephen Scalise of Louisiana, same kind of piece of shit, have both supported Boebert's legislation and openly opposed the board. Too bad they don't support Boebert when she needs it. President Biden's Disinformation Governance Board must be completely dismantled, Mr. McCarthy said on May 18th. It's a scheme conjured up by the Washington Democrats to grant themselves the authority to control free speech. They fear Americans have been unfettered access to information because it will challenge the power they want to have other people's lives. Boy, this puppet talks really good when Trump's got his hand up his butt and he's doing what he's told. While the Disinformation Governance Board is no longer operational, it will not be officially disbanded until after the review, which means this isn't going away. They're literally just going to move this underground is all this is. And Nina Jankowicz there could be a very good possibility. The reason all of this is actually going down is because she had so much bad press. If you haven't seen the musical of her singing about the things she's willing to do to get ahead and be famous, I highly recommend you check it out. Or the super cringeworthy Mary Poppins one about disinformation. But it gets even better than that because this ties all the way into Ukraine. So this is a tweet I saw this morning, and it's from Ned Ryan, I believe he's an investigative reporter of some kind. Conservative, no, I guess he's a senior fellow at the Great Institute. Okay, so that's why. All right, so he goes, look, kids, Scary Poppins helped get Zelensky elected, but I'm sure all of this is perfectly normal. Nothing to see here, move along. Now, I saw this picture initially, and it's got the little headline under here. Nina Jankowicz, who served as Fulbright Fellow, works in a press room at Vladimir Zelensky's campaign headquarters in 2019 in Kyiv, Ukraine. Jankowicz was originally named yada, yada, yada. We know about that, the head of disinformation. Okay, so check this out. So this is a picture, and I was like, oh man, I can't believe they found this. Where could they have possibly gotten this? Who would be dumb enough to publish something like this showing she directly worked for Zelensky getting him elected? I mean, between all the other ties with Russia and the Biden administration, could this look any worse? Well, apparently they are completely ignorant of how this will look because guess who posted this picture? Right here, the Washington Post, in the very article that is claiming that the whole reason it got shut down was because of right-wing attacks disrailed its misinformation. Now, this blew me away. This is from Taylor Renz, the crazy psycho, the one that was like, oh my God, people are picking on me on the internet. Ah, it's horrible. The one that Timcast actually put a billboard up because she was lying, and she's the one that doxed libs of TikTok, which has been exposing all of the crazy stuff that's been going on with woke parents trying to indoctrinate and groom your kids. Yeah, they actually posted this and apparently thought it was going to be okay. So for some background, this is from thenation.com. This article right here talks about her history and where she's been working. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up specifically was her time in Ukraine, because there's been a lot of talk about Ukraine and Yahtzees, neo-Nazis, and all kinds of other stuff like that. And it's really entertaining because Jankowicz was writing for the press over there and was actually on state television giving out, should we say, misinformation possibly, or even, I guess, just propaganda for the Ukrainian government. And it's very interesting because as this is going, so at the time, so Jankowicz wrote a piece. At the time Jankowicz wrote this piece, the Russian press was bristling at Kyiv's creating a new holiday to honor military volunteers. Moscow commentators depicted this as a celebration of far-right butchers. Jankowicz offered a empathetically different take. Now, this is here where it gets interesting because of some of the battalions she's going to call out. Remember, there's been a lot of talk about a very specific battalion in Ukraine right now that everybody's having major issues with, but for some reason the left and even Facebook and Twitter are perfectly okay with. Volunteer battalions, remember this is from her piece, volunteer battalions organized throughout the country, and they supported weak Ukrainian armed forces and prevented further Russian separatist encroachment. Today, the volunteer battalions are part of the official Ukrainian armed forces overseen by the Defense and Interior Ministries. She said on her Stop Fake Debunking segment, the volunteer movement in Ukraine extends far beyond military service. Volunteer groups are active in supporting Ukraine with food, clothing, medicine, and while Jankowicz talks, with clothing, medicine, and post-battalion rehabilitation, as well as working actively with nearly 2 million internal refugees displaced by the war in Ukraine, she added. While Jankowicz extolled the battalions on an on-screen graphic displayed the patches of 4 paramilitaries, Adar, Dnipro 1, Donbass, and Azov. Azov Battalion is the one you hear about in the news all the time because they actually wear swastika and SS-looking stuff on their uniforms. Apparently, all 4 have a documented record of war crimes, while Azov is an outright neo-Nazi group. Okay? This lady is who they put in charge of your disinformation board. And am I the only one that thinks she's kind of ugly? That's just my personal opinion. But yeah, they literally, this lady who praised a Nazi battalion in Ukraine, worked for their state media apparatus, helped get Zelensky elected, and she's all of a sudden brought in by the Biden administration as the disinformation head of the Ministry of Truth. Tell me this doesn't stink. Tell me something about this doesn't sound really weird. The deep state goes farther than what you think. The administrative state is who controls all of this stuff, and Ukraine has been the West's playground for all kinds of dirty and shady things going on for decades, okay? This is just the latest example of the corruption that goes on in Ukraine being directly tied to the United States, and in this case, Joe Biden himself and his own DHS department. But hey guys, that's just my common sense take on things. Let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. If you do enjoy my content, hit that like button, share it with all your friends, and subscribe if you are not already, because all of that helps this channel grow and it doesn't cost you an absolute thing. This is Jesse with the Common Man Corpus Christi, bringing you news and politics through a common sense lens. Thanks for watching.